Okay. I know a lot of you want to see this again or share with your friends and family members, so I went ahead and recorded it. And at the end, we'll be doing a Q&A, question and answer session. I'm going to try to keep this around 30 to 40 minutes under there, and then leave the rest of the time for questions. So, thank you so much for joining today. I will be speaking about how to invest in vacation rentals in South Florida, other regions as well. We do work right now we're functioning in San Antonio, Texas, Israel, Costa Rica, and we are always looking to expand. We actually also just received a property in Orlando, beautiful mansion, which is quite exciting. So we have been in business for almost 15 years now. We opened our doors with Super Bowl. Super Bowl 2006. You know, I started with a group of celebrities that were contacting me from an ad I posted of a house in Golden Beach, Florida. And, you know, they started reaching out and they were paying, you know, like $50,000 for the weekend. So I said, wow, this is a great opportunity. I have to be in this business. And then I started bailing out, you know, a lot of investors that had purchased in condo hotels like the Trump International, the Morenas Beach, Fountain Blue Resort, and they couldn't pay their mortgages because they were getting, you know, I would say ripped off by the management companies that were charging almost 70% of every booking for their investment. So if they rented out for $200 a night, 5 nights, and they rented their property for $1,000 for those 5 nights, they would have to give $700 to the management company. So that $300 left was not enough for them to pay their expenses. So we went ahead and did the reverse, and you know, and charged half the fees of the hotel, even less, and then helped bail out these owners. So we've developed the industry has changed a lot. When we started, HomeAway was our #1 marketing. HomeAway VRBO was our #1 portal. They were working on getting bought out by EXPEDIA, and when that was happening, they switched all of their subscription-based listings to Instant Book. They used to display the owner's phone number. That went ahead and stopped, and now they kind of function like their AIRBNB, where you only have the ability to list. You have to set your rates, your prices, etc. And a lot of owners didn't like that. So we had 90% of our business was coming from HomeAway, you know, and now it's went down to EXPEDIA and some of our major partners, you know, AIRBNB, etc. We are working also with Booking.com. We decided over the years that we have to move and publish our properties in both industries, because you know, the vacation rental industry is a $100 billion market, but the vacation rental industry, the hotel industry is, you know, I think $1 trillion market, some you know, big number. And so we publish all of our properties on all hotel channels and vacation rental channels, so we can capture both markets, and that's how we're able to get these returns. That's one of my biggest secrets to this business, is that we do not only rely on AIRBNB. For those that are missing out on higher ADRs. We're getting higher nightly rates on the hotel channels, and this is why we've also joined forces with a lot of vacation rental companies. We do consulting for these vacation rental businesses, and we show them how to leverage their bookings and work with us to make more revenues for their properties. So I will go ahead and discuss now some facts about the industry. When you're investing in a vacation rental property and you're purchasing a home, you should be making on average 3 to 4 times, but I like to use 2 times what you would make if you were to rent the property short-term versus yearly. So, for example, let's say I bought a house and I would put it on the market and I would normally get $5,000 a month. By doing vacation rentals, by the way, my screen is on, so if anybody does not see my screen, please send a message to the chat so I can try to fix it. You should see something that says facts about this industry. The vacation rental industry should give you at least 2 times, or if not 3 times, sometimes as high as 4 times the average rental market value. And that is because people are expected to pay more when they come for 2-3 nights than if they come for 6 months or a year. Also, your value of your property will go up when you're going to do vacation rentals. Why? Because now your house became a business. We almost converted your house. We did convert your house into a hotel, except you do not have the expenses and operational expenses of a hotel, but you have the rental value of a hotel because your house will be on hotels.com. So we attract the bookings, we attract the revenues, but we don't have a full-time handyman, full-time housekeeper that's just sitting at the house waiting to clean the house. So this is why I think that this is the best investment, better than any multifamily, any long-term tenancy. Vacation rentals is the best because you can benefit from the revenues of a hotel with the expenses of a traditional residential home. Also, we provide discounts on our management fees when we do partnership levels, and I'm going to show you this on the next screens so you can learn how to join us in doing this. Also, if we're going to be buying and choosing a home with you to do this project, we won't charge any fees for renovations or for furnishing. You will get everything at cost, since we are looking and mostly interested in the revenues from the vacation rental management aspect. So we need to make sure that you get that return as quickly as possible. And to do that, we need to just give our time and our resources. So we have access to, all sorts of materials. We have access to, contractors, everything that will cost you much less if you work with us in terms of fixing these homes. When choosing a home, I prefer not to choose a house that has too much renovation to do, because I'm losing rent during that time. And sometimes it's just not worth it to me to lose that amount of time that I would have normally gained. Moving on, what kind of returns can you expect if you were purchasing a home in South Florida? So, I'm going to go later on, we're going to discuss the ideal criteria for these homes, but these are numbers that are based on true facts, on actual ROIs. And you're going to see in this presentation, I'm going to give you a case study of a house that I purchased with another investor. We did it together, and we did this joint venture, and I show you from the last 2 years, 2018 and 2019, actual bookings and actual revenues. Because one thing I hate is when someone pitches an investment and they tell you, oh, here's my performance. I hate performance. When I hear the word performa, I run the other direction, because I want to make sure that I'm basing my investment and my money that I work so hard for on something that is concrete and that I can actually use some facts. And so this is what I'm going to do today, is I'm going to show you some real bookings. I'm going to show you some real revenues. I'm going to show you a real mortgage, a real tax expense, real utility costs, not things that I've made up. And this is all backed up with, QuickBooks and, everything you might need or might question about. All right. So your typical, we'll take an average house of 400,000. But this can range. I mean, we may decide to buy $1 million home, and the ROIs will be a little bit different. But if we were to go for a $400,000 house, your first year NOI should be around $32,639. Your second year NOI, $53,663. So your net operating income, those numbers are very high. And if you're only purchasing with cash in your first year, you should be making 12% on your money. In your second year, 35%. And the house should be fully paid off in 5 years. If you're going to have a mortgage, it's going to take you a little longer to pay it off, but you're going to have a higher cash-on-cash return of 27% in your first year and 72% in your second year. Now, how did I come up with these numbers? This is a sample property in Hollywood. Okay? Now, this is not a real property. These are projections, but these are projections based on a purchase price of $400,000. And right after this, later, I'm going to show you a case study of an actual property. So if your typical house is $400,000, I put in here improvements of $20,000. I don't like to spend more than $20,000 on a home for improvements. Now, that might be $10,000 of painting and fixtures and then another $10,000 of furniture. Or it may be $20,000 for furniture. But that's the number I like to be at. I may add another $10,000 or $15,000 if I need. But typically I like to stay in that 20 to 40 range max. In this situation, if we decide to buy a $400,000 home with a 25% down payment of $100,000, we are financing $300,000. Your monthly mortgage at 4.5% interest over 30 years is only going to be about $15-20 a month. And so your total cash down is $120,000. And let's talk about what are the typical expenses you can expect when you're renting a house short term. In just a moment, I'm going to break and say, why am I discussing a home and not a condo? I am a big fan of homes and not condos. Why? Because condo associations control your purchase. They control your investment. If they have an assessment, if that assessment is not paid, you cannot sell. If someone who wants to buy a mortgage and the condo association doesn't have enough reserves, you cannot get the mortgage. It's very hard to finance a condo, especially condo hotel. And the reason why condo hotels are so hard to finance is because condo hotels have been notorious for losing people money, okay? And this here is, in terms of buying a condo, they've been notorious for losing money. So if you buy at the Fontainebleau or you buy at the Trump or these places, you lose money, and so they're not financeable because the management companies are making all the money. In my opinion, buying a hotel is not a good investment because if you're not the operator and you have a company, the operators are making the money, not the hotel owner. And this is why buying vacation rentals is good, because you can find a company that is going to charge low fees, hopefully do the right job, get you the hotels and vacation rental revenue, but not charge you the amount that a hotel management company would typically do. All right. So your typical insurance on a house of this size, I would say this house would be about, 3-bedroom, but we would try to convert it into 4 or 5-bedroom. We try to convert the garage. We want to get as many rooms as possible. And as many beds as possible, because we also make money by head. We charge per head, and it makes a big difference. So the insurances would average, let's say, of $4,000. Okay, this is an average, and then your monthly utility bills would be about your $4,000 a year, and then your utility bills would be about $7,200 a year. That's about $600 a month for full cable electricity. Property taxes is about 2% of your purchase price. So that's about $8,000 a year. And then you've got your management fees. In this situation, I put management fees of 20%, which is a special discounted price for our investors that we do for these homes, since we typically charge between 35 to 50%. The expenses, as far as what you would expect if you had a mortgage. If you didn't have a mortgage, your yearly expenses would be $19,200, but if you did have a mortgage, $37,440. And then I put here an average of low season and high season. I was very, very aggressive about this, and I decided to put a very low ADR. I put, if you had 6 months at $250 a night for this house, and 6 months at $350 a night, your occupancy at 80% would bring you about $87,000 of revenue. Now, I could tell you that we are not renting these 4 or 5-bedroom homes for $350 a night during Christmas, New Year's, boat show. We have softwares that will detect every single event that is happening in Miami, whether it's the Art Basel. And we also wait for hotels to sell out. So our rates fluctuate. and we want to try to be, and we're averaging an occupancy right now of about 83–84%. So I put here 80%. And I was using very conservative numbers, and I did not put in this estimate the high season, low season. The peak dates and events that take place. So in your first year, we should be making about $87,000. In our second year, we always see a 30% increase in revenues. So I always have my investors asking me, "Oh, it's been a year. Where's my 20%?" I tell them, "Listen, you have to wait for the second year, because the second year is when people come back." And this is the big mistake people make. They don't have patience, and they want to just get out quick. This is not a fix and flip. This is long-term investment for 5 years, 7 years, where you paid it off and you created yourself residual income. Now you may want to decide, you know what? I'm happy with the revenue I made. I now want to flip this. Okay, we might sell it. But the idea is that on the second year, we can make those revenues and get that 30% increase. So you're at $113,000 in your second year. And in the third year, you see another additional 10% because you've got that recurring business. And also now we've got reviews online. The property has been marketed on so many thousands of channels and now is constantly getting booked. And then just to be conservative, I left year 4, 5, 6, and 7 consistent number, even though all of our properties are always seeing an increase on a year-to-year basis. What I love about vacation rentals is that the market doesn't determine the revenues. In almost 15 years of business, I've never seen vacation rentals go down, except for the hurricanes that we've had in Miami during that 1 month. But we always made it up in January during the season. What I love about vacation rentals is that the revenues are steady. So whatever you're making, you should be expected to be making always. And of course, people are always on vacation. So if it's not Latin America, it might be Europe. If it's not Europe, it might be other parts of the country. But there's always going to be people on vacation or traveling for business. We attract a lot of business. We're partners with Agencia from EXPEDIA, and we get a lot of business clientele. So if you're going to be in your first year, we're going to talk about the first year at $87,000 of revenue. And if you deduct from that $87,000 your mortgage and all your operational expenses, you're left with and also our management fees, you are left with $32,000. $32,000, and it is a 27% cash-on-cash return. And you've also paid off a total principal of $4,800. Looks like a small number next to your mortgage that is costing you, $12,000 a year. But the reason for that, or more than that, the $15,000. The reason for that is because when you have a mortgage, everybody knows that the interest is mostly paid in the beginning, in the first couple of years is where you pay majority of the interest of your property. So you're paying very little bit of principal. And then as you see, the principal jumps in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th year to almost $7,000 a year. So you're paying much more principal towards the end. And then if I didn't have a mortgage, my net profit would be $50,000. So for a $400,000 investment, or let's say $420,000, getting $50,000 is pretty good. That's 12%. And in your second year, when you have that boost, you're at 35% ROI. So, in terms of cash on cash, where do you see this? That you can put in $100,000 and have for a down payment on a house, get a mortgage, and make $32,000 in your first year and $53,000 in your second year. It doesn't exist. The best part is that if you get that mortgage, you could leverage this investment, and you got your money back. Your $100,000 down payment, you got it back after 2.5 years. That's phenomenal. Now, on the bottom, you're going to see that I put here a exit resale of property. I create a situation in terms of an inflation of 5% a year. Okay, So if your property value went up from $400,000, went up 5% yearly, you would sell the property 5 years later. You would sell the property at the end of the 7 years. You would sell the property for $560,000. Okay, now that's a 40% inflation. So let's say I say, okay, 7-8 years from now, I want to be out and I want to sell. You should be selling the property for $560 if the market goes up. Now there's a chance the market goes down, but if the market goes up, you should be at that number. So if you were to sell at that number at $560, you're going to make the profit, the 100, for the $560 minus the $420 that you invested, or if you have a mortgage. And so if you take into consideration all the money you made in those 8 years in rents, plus the profit on the resale, you will cash out with $654,000 if you had a mortgage, or $921,000 if you were coming in with cash only. Now, this is considering that you don't have any additional partners, that you are keeping all the money, okay? So, once again, long term, you turn a $420,000 cash investment into a $920,000 investment over the course of 8 years. So you can do over 2 times your money. Or you get a mortgage and you can convert $120,000 of down payment that you put in this house, you can convert that into $654,000 over the course of the year. By the way, I see that there's a lot of participants that have requested to join. I really appreciate all the attendees that have joined today. Some of you have asked me if this is going to be recorded, so this is being recorded. So for those of you that arrived a little late, I will be sending out the recordings, at the end of the day, so you should be receiving those. Okay, now, how do we get started? What are the steps? What do we do to get started? So the first thing we do is we help you with the LLC. We create, at no charge, the corporation that is going to own this investment. We create a joint bank account with equal shares, and we are both managing members of this LLC. It's an LLC that is owned 50-50 on the profit sharing. Okay, that's if we do the joint venture and if we get the mortgage. I'm going to get that into that in a moment. Or if you decide you want to buy this alone, we can help you with that as well. In terms of the mortgage, we determine if we're going to get a mortgage or if we're going to purchase with cash. And then we find the desirable home. What is a desirable home? Ideally, 4 bedrooms plus. So it could be a 3-bedroom that you have a garage and an extra den that's not being used. I like those because those you're getting at a good deal. And then we have to make sure that it has a pool, that it has its maximum 5 miles from the beach, or some cities don't have beaches, so just from some desirable location. It doesn't have to be on the beach, so we can be further out and make just as much money and make better returns because we're paying less for the house. We don't want something with a light rehab, not too heavy. If it's something with floors, like that and it has carpets, we can do flooring for as cheap as $2-3 a foot. If it's a kitchen, we can just paint it. I mean, so we want to try to use as little money as we can, so we keep our investment as low as possible. But it has to be desirable. I also stay away from HOAs. If some of you do have investments in, for example, a condo hotel, you could review that, but we try to stay away from those. There are exceptionally some properties like the Fontainebleau that we have a 96% occupancy rate that we're doing very well. Those we will maybe be more open to talking about discussing purchasing those and doing the same type of program. We also have to make sure that we're in a zone that allows vacation rentals. Some of you might question, hey, how do I know it's legal? We make sure that you have a license, a vacation rental license, and sales tax certificate. So we remit the sales tax on the 5th of every month to make sure that you are legally operating as a vacation rental. And there's 2 areas right now at the moment that I'm wanting to expand in, and that's in Highland Lakes, that's right by Aventura, Florida, and also in Hollywood. Our headquarters are actually in Hollywood. So those are two areas that I really like the returns that we're getting. We also want to try to be live within 30 to 60 days, and we will do photos, videos, drones of the property, and we'll try to go live 10 days after we've gotten the photos of the property that is ready. We also have a checklist where we can buy the furniture, everything for the house to make sure that the property is rent ready for vacation rentals. Okay, so the first type of purchase is going to be either a cash purchase or a mortgage purchase. The cash purchase is where the investor purchases with all cash, and we have a joint venture program which offers a 8% guaranteed return to the investor. So if for whatever reason in the first year they didn't make their 12%, 15% that we're expecting, we will make sure not to take any management fees till they make that minimum of 8%. So this kind of gives you a comfort level that you're going to make a return on your money regardless of what your expectations should be. And that, so the investor makes his money first. He makes his return first. And then we'll take any shares. Like I wrote here, the investor gets their first profits. They also get their furnishing and improvements. So if they spent $10,000 on furniture, they get that money back first. So you get all your improvements first, and then the revenue share begins. In this proposition, and we are proposing that we get a 25% share for helping you with the rehab, procuring the asset, and doing this joint venture together. This is if you come in as an all-cash purchase. Now, if you decide that, I don't want to buy all cash and I only have $100,000, I only want to come in with a 25% down payment, we could do that. And our company, EXPEDIA, will obtain the loan to buy the house up to 75% of the mortgage value. And you, the investor, will place 25% down that's required for the closing. And I will still make that guarantee of 8%. So if you put down $100,000, you're guaranteed to still make $8,000 a year on your $100,000, regardless of whether we made money or not. So again, that's the backup. But as we saw in our scenario before, your cash on cash should be around 27% total. And once again, same thing like this, the investor will get his money first back. However, because I came in with 75% of the purchase, our company will maintain a 75% equity position, and the investor will maintain his 25% equity position. So if we sell the house for $1 million, we take $75,000. The investor takes if we sell the house for $1 million, we take $750,000, and the investor takes $250,000. So that's the equity split. Okay. However, we will do a profit split of 50-50 on the income. So even though you put in 25%, we will still give you 50% of all rents that come into the property after expenses. And this is, of course, with the exception of the mortgage. Now, if you decide and you say, hey, I want to pay the mortgage with this money. We're making so much money. I don't need this money right now. Use this money to pay your 75% mortgage. Then any principal that has been paid back towards the mortgage will be split 50-50. So if over the course of 5 years we paid back, I don't know, $60,000, $70,000, let's say $60,000 of the mortgage principal, because we used the revenues to pay for that mortgage, you get 30 and I get 30 when we sell the property from that $60,000 of principal that has been repaid. We also have an option that we like to put in our contracts, that we have the option to buy the investor out, and if we do that, we still guarantee our 88% returns. Okay, so if we start the year and you decide you want to sell, you want to get out, we'll buy your position out and still give you 8% return on your money. Okay, case study. This house is a house that I purchased on in Hollywood and Fillmore Street. I bought it for $750,000, and this is a case study of a mortgage and cash. I did this scenario where I got the mortgage for 75%, and the investor came in with 25%. So the investor had to put down $187,000. Now, in this case, we had a lot more than the $20,000 that I recommend for rehab, but the $20,000 that I recommended was on a $400,000 investment. This is almost double that, and this was a two-story house I bought for $750,000, and we put in $100,000 total to do a full rehab and full furnishings. And I'm going to show you the before and after pictures later, and you're going to understand what we did. Probably a $250,000 job for $100,000. So we got the mortgage, the investor put the down payment. I amortized it over 30 years at 5%, and my monthly principal is $3,000. My property taxes is about $14,000. The property taxes was actually $7,000 before, and it was the previous owner's homestead, and so it jumped up, it doubled because it's no longer homestead, and it costs us about $1,000 a month to maintain this house. This house, we pay about $14,000 of insurance. It's a little high because we also have a loss of business. So if there's a hurricane or we lose business, we will get paid for every month that the house should be rented. And then, by the way, feel free to type any questions if you want in the channel. I'll answer them later, when I'm done the session. And we'll also have a Q&A as well. And the cash on cash for this house was 5% in the first year, 21% in the second year, and 41% in the third year. We are paying off this house in 8 years. I bought this house 2 years ago, so I only have 2018 and 2019 of data. We're not even finished 2019, but I'm going to show you what we made in 2019. So this is everything we spoke about. That shows the expenses, the insurance, the taxes, the mortgage. So this house costs me $40,000 a month without the mortgage, but I have a mortgage, so it actually cost me $76,000. And I put here an ADR, but it's real numbers, and I'm going to show you the bookings shortly. In the first year, we brought in $115,000 of revenue. And now, in 2019, in the second year, we brought in $151,000. So my cash-on-cash ROI, it was 5% in the first year, but 21% in the second year. And I've already repaid, almost $15,000 or more, no, almost $20,000, sorry, of principal. I paid a lot of interest, but I also put a lot of principal back. Now, today, I had this house reappraised. So remember, this house, I paid $750,000 and I put in $100,000 of improvement. That's $850,000. I just did an appraisal, and I have an appraisal at $950,000 without the improvements. So I've already made, in 2 years, my property has already gained $100,000 of value, which is a lot more than 10% of value over the last 2 years. So the values have actually gone up in Hollywood for this house. Now, if I go here and move further into my bookings, this shows you actual bookings. I kind of sanitized the names. I cut off the names a little bit, but I left just part of the first name because I just want you to see that these are real bookings. We were booked 154 nights in the first year. And as you could tell, there were some owner bookings that we used the property for ourselves, for whatever, family or whatever it was. And the occupancy, or maybe we just had to fix something in the house and we blocked. So our occupancy rate wasn't very high in this house. It was 154 for the first year, for 154 nights. So we were less than 50%. And we were still able to bring in at less than 50%, $115,000. Now I know what I could have done better. What I could have done better with this house is, first of all, it wasn't on all the hotel channels from the very beginning. It was mainly on Airbnb and vacation sites. But what I did was I didn't use dynamic pricing tools that helps me fluctuate my rate. So if I had a booking and I had someone checking in on Monday, checking out on Wednesday, and someone checking in on Thursday and checking out on Sunday, that Wednesday night is one night empty. I now have software that will automatically cut the price by 30 or 40 or 50% for that one night gap, and will promote it so much automatically that while I'm sleeping, the rates are changing in my system. And now the investor, the guest can come in and book that one night at a discounted rate. So my occupancy has gone up tremendously in 2019. And that's why in 2019, sorry, the screen is kind of hiding it. In 2019, you could see that I'm at an occupancy of 240 nights. That's over 100, almost 100 nights more than 2018. And remember, I told you earlier that you could, you'll get 30% more in your second year. This is a lot more than 30%. This is more than 50% in your second year. And this is also because we got smarter, we got better, and we had that repeat business. We're at $151,000. I printed this on November 1st, 2019. So I'm expecting to be in 2019 around $165,000 to $170,000 in revenue, because I didn't account for the month of November and the month of December, which December has Christmas, you have Christmas, New Year's. So in here, this shows you some real numbers, real bookings, and how in our second year with this house, we brought in $150,000 of revenue. Now, this is some information as to how we did this. We hired an interior designer to help us. It cost us about $70,000 in renovation and $30,000 in furnishings. We also gave this job to a contractor, and normally would have cost at least $250,000 to do this, and it cost us much less than $250,000. And remember that one of the benefits is that we give you our cost for any rehab or any work that we do in these homes. And I'm going to show you some before and after of these properties, and then I'm almost done with my presentation. This is the bar area. Transformational. The bar was green. Those ugly stool chairs. The colors were, the room was green. We made it gray. We also took off the carpets and we put a vinyl laminate floor that cost us only about $1.80 to $2 per square foot for the material. And then we had installation. It looks like tiles, but it's not. It looks like real wood, but it's not. It's a vinyl laminate waterproof. Very inexpensive. We put a beautiful dining room table and a coat of paint, and we added some hanging lights. This is the living room. Same thing with the floor. We ripped out the carpet, put a TV on the wall, put some modern furniture, and we replaced the fan with a beautiful modern fan from Home Depot that cost me only about $50. This is the kitchen. As you can tell, this looks like a full rehab, but it's not. I kept the tiling, I kept the floors, I kept the cabinets, and I kept the appliances. The only thing I changed was the knobs on the kitchen cabinets, and I also changed the paint color of the cabinets. We painted them white. So we used everything existing, and it looks brand new. This is the pool room. Again, flooring. We took out the carpet, put that vinyl laminate. Replaced that fan, the ugly fan, with a $50 modern fan. Bought some beds for $200 for the base, about $150 for the mattress, and put some curtains with a matching theme. The bathroom. This might look like a whole new bathroom. The only thing we changed, we added the floors, but the bathtub is the same. We painted it with a special white paint that is for bathtubs. And the glass, we took out that mermaid style glass door and we put in a clear glass. The glass cost me about $800. The vanity, brand new vanity, was $100 at IKEA. The mirror cost me about $75. The toilet was $90 at Home Depot. And the tiles are exactly the same. The only thing we did was we put a special paint for those tiling and made it white and gray. You know, we needed a special painter guy to come in and do that. We use special materials, but we preserved the existing tiling. So you would never imagine, when you walk into a house like this, you would say, oh my God, this house needs total rehab. When I see a house like this looking all orange, but with solid construction, solid tiles and material, I look at the opportunity. I say, wow, I can just flip a switch and put some colors and make it look brand new. So that concludes my presentation. I'm going to, if anybody has any questions, please answer them. I'm going to start just a moment here. 1 second here.